Hey, welcome back to our series on SketchUp. We previously learned some pretty basic introductory stuff to SketchUp. Now we're going to push into a little bit more of the advanced lessons. These can be a little bit more tricky. There's a lot more to them. So we're going to take our time and kind of walk you through those. And feel free to obviously watch this as many times as you need to and get into the program and actually practice these. So today it is going to be a pretty simple tool to get into our advanced lessons, and it is going to be our circle and our polygon tool. So with that, let's talk about kind of what you're going to be learning here today. First, we'll obviously show you how to use the circle tool to draw circles. We're going to show you how to infer to the center of that circle. We're going to show you how to be accurate in your measurement of the circle when you are drawing. We're going to show you how to change the number of sides on the circle. Okay, so those are your main four components when it comes to circles. And at the same point in time, we're going to show you guys the polygon tool, which is very similar to the circle tool in that it's the same way to draw it, the same way to measure it, the same way to infer to the center, and the same way to change the number of sides on it. Okay. But we're also then going to take a look at what the differences between the two are. And then we'll show you a little trick to be able to actually orientate it on a surface of another part of your model. And then obviously last thing we'll talk about is how to actually edit your circle shape and size and actually find the surface area and the circumference and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and begin with our circle tool. So as we come in here, by default our rectangle tool is right here, and if I click on that, it gives me 5 different options other than the rectangle tool, well, including the rectangle tool. So we want to find our circle tool, which is right here. So if I click on that circle tool, you'll notice that I now have a circle that kind of chases around my mouse cursor. And in order to draw a circle, it's pretty much similar to how you would draw a line segment. So just a quick review, on a line segment you would click once, okay, draw out the line or pull out that line, and click a second time to end that line segment. Now obviously I have another line segment attached to that, but what we'll end up doing is using that same technique in order to draw our circle. So here we have our circle, okay. Click once to establish the center point of my circle, and then I'm going to pull out my radius of my circle, and then I would end up clicking a second time to establish that radius and to plant that circle down on my model. Okay, so again, real quick, click once, okay, and I'm pulling this out, click a second time to end. Click once, pull out, click a second time. Hopefully that seems pretty straightforward due to the fact that you've probably already been practicing that. So let's go ahead and just make a quick start of our circle. How do we get an accurate measurement on our circle? So again, this is very similar to our line segment in that I would click once, start drawing it out, and before I click a second time, I would enter in the value of my radius for my circle. So in this case, let's go ahead and make a radius of 6 inches. Okay, and I'll hit enter, and then the SketchUp program does all the calculations for us. And I can use my tape measure tool here, and I can click on the edge, and I can go into the center, and you can see that it is, in fact, a 6-inch radius circle. And if I keep pulling it all the way across, you'll notice that it now is 1 foot, which is obviously the diameter for a 6-inch circle. Alright, so that's how we can be accurate with our measurements on a circle. Okay, so let me go ahead and delete that because I want to draw another circle here. Okay, click once, draw it out, click second time. What if I want to infer to the center of this circle? Okay, I'm out here drawing, and it doesn't necessarily orientate or infer, right? Let's say I'm drawing this out here. I'm just doing that to get off of the circle here, but now I can't access the center of this? Well, I can hover over the outer edge of that circle for about 2 seconds, and then when I come back in here, it'll snap to the center. And it actually, well, it should turn a color and outline that as the center, just like so. Now I can click once to start a new circle, and I can come in with a different diameter circle. So now I can go 8 inches. Okay, obviously that's a little bit closer than I'd want it to be. So I could come in here, let's go 12 inches. There we go. That's a little bit more easier probably to see. Alright, I'm going to delete that real quick. So now we have 2 circles share the same center. Alright. Now, let's show you how to change the number of sides on a circle. So again, click once, drag it out, click a second time. So I've just drawn my circle. Before I do anything else, before I click on a menu, before I click to make another circle or do anything else in my modeling, this is kind of the window of opportunity to change the number of sides on my circle. So by default, a circle is going to have 24 sides. What if I want a circle to be less than 24 sides? What if I want it to be more than 24 sides? All you have to do, type in a number followed by an S and hit enter, and it'll change. So example, let's go have a 10-sided, so 1 0 S, no space, hit enter. You can see that my model is automatically updated through SketchUp. Okay, obviously maybe I don't want a 10-sided circle. Maybe I want a 50-sided circle. So I type in 50 with an S, and now that looks much more like a circle. And if I were to zoom in here, you'll see that in fact circles are not round like you would have on a piece of paper, but what they are a series of connected line segments that are all joined together, so that way it creates the optical illusion of a circle. All right. Now, as you saw here, I just clicked on my mouse, so at this point in time I've kind of closed that window to be able to edit how many sides I have on my circle. But don't worry, there's a way to edit that after the fact. So if you're in the middle of modeling and you don't want to redo everything, all you'd have to end up doing is selecting the outer edge or the circumference of your circle, and then coming over here to the right menu up at the top is an object or a menu item called Entity Info. So if I click on that, you'll see that it's going to carry out here some information about my entity that I have selected. Alright, so in this case it's going to tell me the radius, the number of line segments that is being formed, or the number of sides on my circle. Tell me the rough length and the material and all this sort of stuff. We'll get more into this in a later episode, but if I wanted to edit the number of line segments, so I wanted to go from 50 back to 10, I would just hit 10 and hit enter, and you can see that I have now edited the number of sides on my circle after the fact. I could even come in here and change the radius. So it's currently 8 7/16. I wanted a nice 10 inches. I could do that as well, and it would update. So Entity Info, very handy for this application. I could even click on the center here, or click on the surface, and now my menu changes, and it actually tells me the area, the surface area of my circle. So now it's 2.04 feet squared. So it gives me those calculations without actually have to manually entering that in. That's a really good benefit to this program as well. Okay, so we talked about the circle tool, talked about how to draw a circle tool, how to measure properly, how to infer to the center, how to change the number of sides. And again, we want to show you guys now the Polygon tool, which is very similar. Okay, it's going to utilize all the stuff that you just seen. So here we have the circle tool. Underneath the circle tool is our Polygon tool. So if I click on that polygon, you'll see that just like a circle, I can click once, drag out a radius, click a second time, and I have my polygon. And again, just like our circle tool, I can hover on the edge for a couple seconds, and it will find or infer the center of that polygon, which then I can click a new time to establish a center point, and I could click a second time to end that polygon. Okay. I can also then, well, again, click once to start, type in a measurement, 5 inches, hit enter. Oops. Let me try that again. Click once, start pulling it out, type in 5 inches, enter, and then now I have from the center of this to my outmost point here is going to be 5 inches. Alright, and again, just like our circle tool, if I don't want a 6-sided polygon, which in this case is a hexagon, maybe I want an octagon, I could just type in 8s and hit enter, and now that updates my polygon to an octagon. Or maybe I want a dodecahedron, right? Is that 24 or 12-sided? Regardless, we'll put 24-sided there as well. So now my polygon, interestingly enough, looks like a circle. So what's the difference between a polygon and a circle? Well, let's find out. Let me go ahead and come in here and draw a circle. Okay, and I'm going to make that a 24-sided circle as well. So at this point, you might not be able to see the difference. It's because you can't see the difference. You wouldn't be able to know the difference in this state. So the only way to actually tell the difference between a polygon and a circle is to actually push or pull the object into 3D. So you can already see here that this polygon, when you pull it up, is going to have very harsh edges, okay, defined edges, so that way you know that it is in fact a polygon. Where if I were to do that with a circle, you'll see now that those edges, they're still there, but what happened is they're pre-blended. So now it's not harsh, it's a cylinder shape rather than a polygon shape. So that's the only way that you can tell the difference between the two. So, real quick question. Was this a polygon or was this a circle? Well, let's find out. So I'm going to click on the surface here, push that up. Ah, interesting. So even though it looked like a polygon, and even though this is not really smooth edges, SketchUp is going to attempt to blend those surfaces together on the edge. Okay, and again, we can see that there's a difference here between polygons and circles. So, kind of interesting stuff in that regard. Alright, let's do one last thing here and actually show you. Let's see, get in my rectangle tool. I'm just going to make a very boring cube here for a second, because then I'm going to get into showing you how the program actually allows you to orientate the direction of your circle based off of what surface you are currently starting to draw on. So in this case, notice that my circle is blue, and when I draw it, it draws it out essentially flat on this top surface of the rectangle. But if I come over here to this side, you notice that it went from blue to red. So then that way when I draw that one will be on that surface as well. So blue, red, and this one obviously will become green. So I can draw that out as well. So it's a very nice thing to have, so when you're modeling, you don't have to worry about trying to orbit around or make sure that you're getting into it. You're just touching that surface, and the program recognizes you want to draw that on that surface. However, what if you don't want to draw it on that surface? How can you kind of negate the default of drawing on the surface? Well, you have to come off of the piece that you're drawing on, right? So if I have a blue circle here, I could hold Shift. Oops, there we go. And now I've essentially inference locked my circle into that axis. So I could draw it on the top, I could come down here like this, and when I'm drawing that out, it's locked in that plane. Okay, so I could orbit around here to the green-blue plane. Again, my circle is red. Hold Shift key, and now that's locked in like that. And again, it would also work here in the red-blue axis. Circle is green. I could come in there like that, and we can do that along those lines. So pretty interesting stuff. So we covered a lot of things there. Circle and polygon tool might not seem like it is a very sophisticated tool with not a lot of parts or pieces, but we talked about how to draw one. We talked about how to be accurate with one, how to infer to the center of it. We showed you how to actually change the number of sides, how to edit the number of sides after the fact in the entity info information. We showed you the difference between the circle and the polygon, and obviously we showed you lastly how to inference lock to be able to draw in a very specific plane. So get in there, playing around, just kind of make some stuff that you saw on this particular episode. There's nothing specific, just got to play around with it to really get a hold of it. So anyways, we'll catch you guys on the next episode.